We live.
Okay, Con. You gonna open up.
Khan. Hey, Shalom, Malcolm, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, we want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth, and that's still our teaching this truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, pushing this word with all truth and sincerity. That's out there fighting, all right, on the highways and byways and doing these lessons of sincerity and in truth, being brothers. Um, Great Millstone Dallas, of course. We have Elder Yashawamba, Elder Yatazak, and I'm Tazama. And we're just gathering ourselves together today through the Spirit to want to go through the book of course, not the whole book today, but we want to go through First Maccabees, the first chapter, in the sense of going back into the history, because this is a very, very vital piece of history and information that, you know, these Christians and just our people in general, but a lot of these Christians, I rather say too, you know, they don't know or they'll bypass it in the sense of who the Gentiles are, who the Apostle Paul and Peter, James, John, or John, Jude. You know, when they may mention Gentiles in the New Testament, they may think it's talking about everybody. But when you read the history in Maccabees, where it's predominantly going into the Greco-Roman captivity, all right, this is where our people really began to learn the customs of the heathen, whereas they were calling themselves Greeks, going to gymnasiums, wearing hats, following after the customs of the heathen, whereas those who were keeping the law looked at our people as actual heathen, you know? So it's a lot of history when you read the Maccabees, man. A lot of history going in on these damn devils, these Edomites, how they was pushing their Hellenistic ways upon us,
Right.
slaughtering us, but y'all got it.
Con, and we always make sure that we through the Spirit go into how these things are gonna come back again with nothing new being under the sun. That Hellenization period that is left out of the gospel, you know what I'm saying, in the church and in the world, that history of what made the Gentiles, the Israelite foreigners, the Gentiles was this period that they erased. It's kind of like taking part two out of a three-part series. You know what I'm saying? And expecting to know what's going on and how to explain it and how
Right.
to break it down. So understanding that we live in the times of the MOTB and all this different technology being increased, and basically the self-proclaimed white boy is basically going through the rebirth of the Greco-Roman Empire all over again, and you seeing these same tendencies and tactics and the way that they roll come back to pass again.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
I got a precept.
wanting to X out the Messiah and do their own thing with the nation of Israel. You see, they tried that back then,
Mm-hmm.
and now you see the modern day version of it. You see, so with nothing new being under the sun, you're gonna see as we go through First Maccabees the similarities of how it's happening today. You
Right. I
see,
got a
it's gonna
precept
come a
for you.
point. Come on.
This is I'm gonna read it in the NLT, Ecclesiastes 1:9. History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new.
You see, and being that we the rebirth of the Greco-Roman Empire, you starting to see it. You starting to see the way that they move. You starting to see the way that they trying to force these things. You starting to see how our people are reacting to it. You see, so like, hey, if y'all want to just go ahead and jump into the chapter, I'm sharing my screen. But yeah, we can go ahead and jump into it.
Right.
I had
And
a
the
precept real.
apocrypha
Oh,
is
Salaki, you got
the
it.
apocrypha is scripture. A lot of these Christians that stem from the Protestant movement, they speak against the apocrypha, and as if it's not canon. The apocrypha is canon, and the holy day Hanukkah stems from the very story we're getting ready to read. And Yahushua, the Messiah himself, celebrated the holy day Hanukkah. And it's funny that when the so-called Jew does it and celebrates it, it's okay.
Right.
Okay, but when we do it, it's totally off. We're making it up. We're off. We're creating another gospel. Okay, but eventually, at some point, as we go through this series, because it's going to be a series of videos, you'll see that Hanukkah itself, the Feast of Dedication, stems from the Greeks, the Edomites, coming after the Israelites, polluting our temple, and eventually us fighting, to get back in good graces with the Lord and rededicating it. So you got it, brother.
Con. I got a real quick precept as well.
Con, I'm gonna go ahead
Revelation.
and
All right. This is Revelation 13, and I'll read verse 1 and verse 2. It says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." And we know the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns is going into NATO and the EU. All right, the whore that rides the beast is America, but it's going into a system that John was seeing. Right, verse 2. "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard." Right, in the beginning of the leopard is the Greek Empire. They like to say civilization started with the Greeks. So this system that we live in today, like as you read in here in Revelation, is going to be based upon a Greco-Roman system all over again. You see, it says, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear," going into how this place is going to be destroyed, going into Russia, "and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." So the reason why I wanted to bring that out is going into the fact of how during the Greco-Roman Empire, our people was Hellenized to the max. And you literally see the same thing going on today with this new beast system. All right, this beast system, I'd rather say, that's being reincarnated. As the elder Yashawamba read, there's nothing new under the sun. How we're playing everything out all over again, But that's in that piece.
And also in what's that Revelation 20? Revelation 20 when it talks about the dragon being in prison and being let out for a little season. That's going into the Renaissance period, and the Renaissance is going into the rebirth of the Greco-Roman Empire, like the brothers is going into. You see, and it's that little season. That little season is from the Renaissance up until now, approaching the end of that system. You see, one system is falling and another one is going to be raised up out of it. So the whole point of them doing what they're doing is to cross out the Messiah and replace him with medicine and technology. And you have to show that you down with it by a hand and a hand and a hand.
Right.
You see, and as we go back to this first Maccabees, you're going to see that same plan was being done similarly. You see, instead of that so-called C to the H to the I to the P, it was more you show your allegiance by eating pork and eating swine and things of that nature.
And it was also a brand. They when you go into the history, the Greeks, even in Greek fraternities today, we know that they're synonymous with branding yourself, putting a brand on your body, which is making an oath and a token to a god. So when you go into the history, in the Maccabees, the third Maccabees, which is just history, it talks about how they set up a registry to where you had to put a brand on your body dedicated to the god Dionysus or Bacchus, which ultimately the modern day version of that is going to be what we see being implemented and set up now with the charagma. So history repeats itself. And as we go through these scriptures in First Maccabees, everything that you read, you should look at what you see happening today and link something, we'll read it and you'll see that ultimately we are living in the Greco-Roman Empire all over again. All of the gods, all of the idols and everything that is being perpetuated in the earth stems back to those empires, which really they got their gods from Samaria, Egypt, Canaan. That's why this is a spiritual Sodom and Egypt. Okay. So.
Yep. So, yeah, just even land backing on the point, I just want to make a quick point. They would be branded. They would be branded with an ivy leaf.
Yep.
For the god of Bacchus, and the ivy leaf, when you go into it, it symbolically represents like everlasting life or loyalty, devotion. That's what the ivy leaf represents. Like it's a symbol of life, And what are they pushing right now? With this new system that with immortality, you can transcend. It's all the same thing, all over again.
That's right.
All over again, man.
That's right.
But I have First Maccabees. If I'll go ahead and start at the top.
Con.
All right, so this is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. It says, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went so like verse 3, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Now,
Whereupon,
real quick too, that as you're reading, this is the blessing of Esau was the sword, and what Isaac told Esau is that he was going to ultimately rule the world, by the sword, and going throughout the four corners of the earth doing evil and wickedness. In the beginning of the Edomite power structure starts with the Greeks. That's why you always hear in Esau society history started with the Greeks, which we know that's not true. All right. But what they're telling you is that our history, our power structure as Edomites starts with this Greek empire. And Alexander was the son of Philip, and they had went through all of these Japhetic lands, all right, which there's a history to this, all right, taking down these Japhetic people. The true Greeks and the true Romans were really the seed of Japhet, which is a dark nation, all right, but they're not Israelites, okay? And the Edomites went throughout these lands, as you're reading about, taking down these particular nations and doing what? Using the sword to set up their power structure. But again, as the priest read, Revelation 13, the beast system starts with the Greeks. So this, what we're reading, is the very beginning of the beast system we live in right now. Okay, and it said he smote Darius. Alexander himself didn't take down Darius, but it was by his force and his army just continually dominating, that a man close to Darius was begging Darius to submit, and Darius didn't want to do it. So ultimately, Alexander's force led that guy to taking Darius out. So it was through Alexander's force, but it wasn't Alexander himself that touched Darius, but it was by his force and his army just dominating, where they was like, we cannot compete with these people, because again, they were blessed with the sword. So this is that history. It's a lot of history. Go ahead.
Yep, it was Darius. Specifically, it was Darius the third.
Right.
And what was going on is that it was the pretty much Alexander. He had his invasion, and then he had Persepolis, the Battle of Persepolis. And I want to say it was a guy that it was his name, but his name was Bessius. He actually killed Darius the third.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because he heard Alexander was coming on the scene. He was like, man, and then he ended up killing Darius. So like the elder mentioned beautifully. Alexander the Great, he actually didn't go in there and kill Darius. It was actually one of Darius's own people that killed him, based upon the fame and the name of Alexander coming on the scene. And when you read in the book of Josephus, the Antiquities of the Jews, book 11, chapter 8, section 5, or chapter 5, book 11, chapter 8, section 5, excuse me. It also goes into pretty much Alexander going to the priest, and Alexander had a dream that he went to the priest, and the priest showed him in the vision, like, look, this is you and when you read Daniel 7 or Daniel 8 and this part of Daniel 11, this is talking about you. And then in real life, he actually seen the priest, and he was like, oh, this is the guy I seen in my vision. You know what I'm saying? And the priest actually showed him in prophecy where he was going to take down the Persians.
Yep.
So hey, man, Alexander was through the spirit. He was in the spirit.
This is prophecy playing out. You see, when it was said that the earth was given into the hands of the wicked, that had to take root at some point, and the buildup of Philip to Alexander and all those different things, all that had to happen in order for that to play out. So him having the sword and that and the way he conquered was all prophesied. You see, right. It's always about what the scriptures and the prophecies is saying, and that's where people miss the mark. You see, how can you get into the prophecy? How can you get into the prophecy when you missing half the story? You see, you got it.
So this is verse 3. Um, First Maccabees 1 and 3. It says, "And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, and became tributaries, who became tributaries unto him."
I said in the book of Daniel, it prophesied how swift that leopard was going to be. You see, and what and it goes into this particular history. You see, not being able to put the history and the mystery together, you're gonna lose every single time. You see, you have to know what made the Israelite foreigners Israelite foreigners. You see, sin, prophecy, judgment, all these things come into play, and you have to know that. Go ahead.
Verse 5. "And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Right? Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive."
Mm-hmm.
Verse 7.
And when you go to Daniel the 7th chapter, it talks about those four. I forget what I think it calls them four wings, or I forget how it
Four
notes it.
heads.
Four heads that pretty much ruled after Alexander. And it's interesting that historically everybody acknowledges Alexander the Greek as a real person, but here it is, he's in the Bible.
Right.
All right. And the four generals that ruled in his stead after him was Lysimaeus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and the Seleucid, which you can look up the history of the Diaduchi, and it goes into that. There's another few that were there, but those are the four notable ones. And after Alexander died, I believe he had a disease. All right. They ultimately started warring with each other over the territories and lands, as Esau is even warring with each other today. Okay. Go ahead.
Yep. A lot of infighting, a lot of treachery, making deals. You know what I'm saying? That's how Esau moves, and that's how he operates. You know, he'll sit at the table with you, and he does this among his own people, just for power. And you clearly see that happening today. You know,
Right.
The kingdom divided against itself can't stand. Right. Verse 7. "So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died," which his reign was roughly around 336 BC to 324, or roughly give or take. "And his servants bear rule, every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth."
Man, the earth was given into the hand of the wicked, and from this time forth, even with their little season where they was down and then coming up out of that, and all that, you see the evils multiplied in the earth. Look at our chat on a daily basis. That's the result of the earth being given into the hands of the wicked. This is what they did. This is what they're doing with their rulership.
That's right.
You got it.
That's right. The wickedness, and as they talk about, history starts with the Greeks and civilization starts with the Greeks. Well, the Bible lets you know here that wickedness being spread in the earth more than ever, more than any other, because all of the heathens were going off, but it's something special about the Edomite and the wickedness that he does. Okay, so here it is. All of this time, Alexander was ruling, and is to take to note the Jews who were in this captivity. It was only Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right, you had a remnant of, a few of the other tribes, but the other tribes were already over here in the Americas by this time. So you had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and when Alexander was ruling, he allowed us to keep our customs. Alexander wasn't hard on the Jews, as we're getting ready to read this one who came from the Seleucid Empire, whose Antiochus was. Alexander allowed us to keep our customs, our cultures, play our games, because we had particular games, just like Jake got today. All right. But as we're getting ready to read, once this wicked root, Antiochus, who came out of the Seleucid Empire, again, it was Lysimaeus, Cassander, Ptolemy, all right, and Seleucid. Out of the Seleucid came, who we're getting ready to read about, is Antiochus. This is when it got hard for us in being a Jew, practicing being a Jew, professing yourself to be an Israelite, circumcising your children, okay, keeping the laws is getting ready to be outlawed as this wicked, demon from amongst the Greeks comes into power. Okay, just wanted to put that out there.
I got something for you real quick, Elder Yashawama. Now, this is in the Josephus real quick, just backing up your point. This is the Antiquities of the Jews, book 11, chapter 8, section 5. It says, he granted, and this he is talking about Alexander, he granted all they, which are the Jews, desired. And when they entreated him that he would permit the Jews in Babylon and Media to enjoy their own laws also, he willingly promised to do hereafter what they desired. And when he said to the multitude that if any of them would enlist themselves in his army on this condition, that they should continue under the law of their forefathers and live according to them, he was willing to take them with him. Many were ready to accompany him on his wars. You see? So even with Alexander, he didn't really put hell on us like that. He really allowed us to continue in our ways. He was like, look, even if you come into our military, if you come into my military, you still can keep your laws. So you had a lot of Jake at that time when Alexander was on the scene that was in Alexander's military.
That's right.
Conquering and moving. He had a lot of Israelites that was in his military too, but he allowed us to keep our customs due to the prophecy that he had seen. He was like, I ain't finna mess with these people like that. Nah. he showed reverence to the high priest.
That's right.
According to history, Okay, so going back to First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes. When you get that word Epiphanes, it means God manifest. That's what it means.
And Daniel prophesied him. So when you get into the prophecies that Daniel was given through the Spirit of the Lord, you have to understand who was he talking about. Where is because it talks about a little horn twice. One is talking about him, and the other one is talking about Babylon the Great. You see, so when it gets into these prophecies, because even in the chapters with Daniel, it'll give the vision that was that came to it'll give the vision, and then it'll give the breakdown of the vision. You see, and you have to be able to identify who this is talking about within the history. You got it.
Yep.
You got it.
And if possible, it was Antiochus the fourth, right?
Yeah, kind of. It was a fourth.
Yeah, we can. If you can just look him up, just if you could just do whoever controlling the. You can just open up another tab and just type in Antiochus the fourth, so people can see that this is an actual pizza.
Yeah, we just ain't making anything.
Look, he the first one come up.
That nigga. There you go. Okay, look at him.
Who
does that look like?
Creepy Joe.
Who's that look like? Who? I mean, Esau. These people ain't destroyed. The Edomites ain't destroyed.
Nah, absolutely.
They're still here today. These people rule the earth right now. And all of these particular people we're reading about are reborn in this time. Okay, but you can look him up. We just want to show you that this is a guy you can actually research and do the history of on. All right, and as you can see, was a Greek Hellenistic king who ruled the Seleucid Empire. Okay, so this ain't the scriptures ain't just no fairy tale. This is actual history. People you can look up and see. Damn, okay. We can go back. I just wanted to, we didn't got to go too deep into him per se, but to show you he's real.
That's right.
Yep, he's a real person in history.
That's right.
I got something real quick. Daniel chapter 8, verse 9, just to back you up. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. And that little horn right there, specifically in Daniel chapter 8, verse 9, is talking about Antiochus the fourth.
That's right.
Right. Even when you look into the commentaries, you got commentary Bibles that actually go into that breakdown that's who that's talking about. And where do you read about him? In the Apocrypha. You see, you gotta be able to connect those dots. And without the Apocrypha, you missing a huge chunk of the movie, man.
That's it.
You got it.
Yep. So it says, I'll read verse 10 again. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, which that's Antiochus the third, who had been in hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So it even gives you the time frame. And when you look at the time frames going into the history, you know, when you read the Maccabees, it's going into the pretty much how it's the dates are given according to the Seleucid era. So the Seleucid era began roughly around like 312 BC. So 137th year is roughly around like 100 and what, like 190 or not even that, like 170 something BC. You know, so it'll political affairs, it'll go into the Seleucid era, but like the temple affairs, anything dealing with the temple, it'll be like 311. You know, so that's just like a little tidbit of time, you know,
Right.
when you go into it, just for your, you know, for your knowledge.
That scripture you just read in Daniel said he waxed towards the pleasant land. That's when he went to Jerusalem, as we're reading. You know, fulfilling exactly what Daniel saw.
Man, bro.
You got to understand, Daniel was heavy. Daniel prophesied of people, and literally, you know, they, you know, when they came onto the earth, you had Israelites telling them, look, this was talking about you.
Right.
Yep. Exactly right. Man, that's heavy, bro. Wow. And then hundreds of years down the line,
it happens. The way, what's that scripture in Isaiah 42?
Isaiah 42, yeah. I'll get it for you.
Yep, yeah, get that real quick.
Yeah, that's heavy. I'll get it for you.
These
Isaiah
scriptures
42.
are not a joke.
This is Isaiah 42, verse 9. It says, "Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare. Before they spring forth, I tell you of them."
There you go.
Wow. You know, Apostle Ramla. Wow, man, that's heavy.
The spirit of the Lord is the testimony of the Lord is the spirit of prophecy, man.
That's right.
That's heavy, man. In verse 11, it says, "In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow."
See that? So there came a point where they started to put hell on us, as you're going to read. Ultimately, to profess yourself to be a Jew, to keep the customs, to circumcise your child, all right, it became outlawed. So you had wicked niggas, all right. And now, who could you imagine right now? All right, name y'all top nigga who you can imagine in verse 11, starting with Yatazak.
Oh man, oh shoot, you got Nate, you got any Christian pastor,
Charles Barkley.
You guys, we gotta make a covenant with the heathen that's around about us.
Right,
that man.
Guy. That's the spirit they coming in. Ultimately, saying,
Dennis?
"Look, we look all of this Israelite stuff. Look, since we departed from them, we gonna have sorrow. We have to lean on them."
Wow.
The same thing we seeing happening now. Now, Nate, he's an example of that on a level. Okay, but he's, you know, Nate is preaching to keep the laws, but secretly, I believe he's made deals.
Right.
But like a guy like TD Jakes, you know, and the rest of these cats, because you couldn't even you had to eat swine back then. Like if you was denying eating swine, like you were liable to be put to death at this time. So Nate would have he wouldn't have been able to get away with what he's you know, because he's stuck, you know, he's about that law. The law. Back then, if you were openly proclaiming that, as we keep reading, you were going to get attacked. And what Esau does is he always sets up leaders for Jake. And that's these wicked men who are persuading you to turn from the Lord all right, and walk the wide, take the wide path and not walk through the straight gate, you know.
Right. It's just like all these so-called Christians coming out of the woodwork now
Yep.
wanting to defend the gospel.
There you go.
The dude we was looking at earlier, he was adamant about we got to do something about this.
Right.
You see, they saying that they ought to say one of the dudes thought that he was a Hebrew Israelite until he heard what he was talking about. He was like, I thought y'all was the Hebrew Israelites because y'all were out there on the highways. We don't never see the Christians on the highways, you know, and that's now I was you already too late to the fight. But that wicked mentality that the dude even said that the white man is God. You can go into the Bibles and see that God is a white man. He even went that far.
He said that shit.
You know,
the black boule. The black boule are the gatekeepers of Esau society.
God.
And it happened back then, and it's happening. We see it happening now. Before Esau really makes his move on the true ones who have the testimony, is going to be a lot of black pastors and Jake who are going to be coming up to us and doing all manner of seminars and videos against us. That's these guys. Okay, to forward that Hellinization and telling you it's okay to get down with Esau. All right, which the scriptures tell us make no covenant with these devils, and everything that they're presenting to us is based upon idol worship. Everything. Right. Everything that they're getting ready to bring, like you're gonna have to rebel against the Heavenly Father to even live a normal life. So that's why the Lord is having all of this controversy happen, because you Israelites are getting ready to have to make a decision, and many are going to choose what they think is the right way by what, as it says in Hosea, going after their lovers who give them bread and wine and wool and flax. This devil, when you look up, he's going to have all of the resources. That's what's been happening since 2020. It's been happening before that, but since the 2020 issue with the Crown Royale 2019 and the juice that came that they wanted you to take, it was a grab. The rich became richer and the poor became poor. The middle class is just about wiped out. All they need is one more shutdown. That's it. And by the time you look up, they're gonna have everything, and you're gonna be looking around, and you're gonna, whatever you want, you're gonna have to go to them. So you're gonna have to make a decision. Salaki, you got it, brother.
That's right on point. It says, for since we departed from them, we've had much sorrow. So they're gonna make you make a decision. You know, do you want to be in sorrow, or do you want to live a life accordingly how everybody else is living life? Do you want to have access? And we already know what that's
hour of temptation.
Bound to the image.
The hour of temptation is nigh.
Right.
You got it.
Yep. Right. So verse 12 it says, so this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
Right. So these are Israelites who were in high positions, who had influence, particular priests. As we read in particular chapters, there were priests who were offering wicked sacrifices, and some of the Maccabees was putting their asses to death on the spot. Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
So what did they do? They built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, in the holy place. You put a 24-hour fitness, okay, but then you go back in that time, people were the titties bouncing, balls, all manner of just lewdness, because back then they were naked working out.
Right.
So these wicked Israelite leaders allowed the Greeks to build a gymnos, which means naked, in the holy place.
In Jerusalem. Yep.
Jerusalem.
Yeah, man. And that was and with that gym, it was a symbol of it was like a Greek athletic and intellectual life. Like they would train up the young, like, for example, the Boys and Girls Club,
yes,
youth centers,
yep,
all those little youth centers that Jake be all up into, and all that stuff goes back to the Greekish customs. You know what I'm saying? Like learning the military life. You know, going to the gym. You had Jake that was actually trying to surgically make themselves uncircumcised again. It went that deep. It really went that far. You know.
Yep.
Go ahead.
How much more now?
Right.
Yep.
You got it.
Right. It says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief.
And you have to understand that when you read in the New Testament, this history is what links you to the uncircumcision. As you read in the New Testament, you notice you always see this term called the uncircumcision. In times past, you were called the uncircumcision by that which is circumcised. Because what stems from this story is the Maccabees who held to the customs, who stuck to the traditions, man. But then you had a whole lump of Jake who didn't. And they had children and they raised their children like that. And they raised their children like that. But then you had these Israelites who stuck to the customs, the Maccabees, the Hasmonean dynasty, okay, leading all the way up to the time of Yahushua, all right, which kept the customs, which stuck to the traditions. Yahushua came from a family who stuck to the traditions. Okay, that's why when he was born, he was circumcised on the 8th day. John the Baptist, when he was born, he was circumcised on the 8th day. Paul, when he was born, circumcised on the 8th day. Why? Because they were born to these families, okay, who stuck to the traditions. But as we're reading here, there were a large number of Israelites who made themselves uncircumcised by doing what? Forsaking the holy covenant. This is the New Testament. When you read about the Gentiles, the heathen, these are the children of these people who we're reading about right here. You have to understand this history in order to understand the mystery of the Gentile. You can't just open the Bible at Matthew and think you're going to get an understanding of what's happening.
Right. Like when you read about the Hasmonean dynasty, like just, I'm just mentioning it so you can read it on your own. I mean, even when you think about the Pharisees and the Sadducees, specifically, like more so the Pharisees, they are pretty much descendants in the sense of the Hasmonean dynasty.
The Sakari, the Zealots. Yep.
Yeah. So the Pharisees necessarily wasn't, in a sense, wrong for one to uphold the traditions of the law, but when Yahushua came on the scene for those Israelites that were following after the customs of the heathen, but returning back upon faith, and then the Pharisees looking at them like, nah, hell no, nah, man, forget y'all, hell no, y'all, all this time y'all was going away from the customs, man, y'all unclean. That's what made them, in a sense, wicked.
That's it.
I had a precept for you real quick.
Yep.
Second Maccabees 4. Because when you read Second Maccabees, it's not like you got First Maccabees and Second Maccabees is more what was going on. Second Maccabees is more so like it is First Maccabees in a sense, but it's a little more detailed in a sense, right?
Yep.
So Second Maccabees 4:9, it says, beside this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set them up a place of exercise and for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen, and to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians or Antiochans. See that? So they put the name, they put Antiochus' name upon them. We're Antiochians.
Right. And that's what he's trying to do today.
It's just like now. It's just like now. Jake will tell you, I ain't no Hebrew Israelite, I'm this. I ain't no Israelite, I'm that. You see what I'm saying? You got what's the Charleston white dude? You know what I'm saying? He say he from the nation. He say he a child of the slaves. He go back to slavery. He don't go back no further than that. He don't want no parts of it. You see? He would be an Antiochian. You got it.
An African American. Leo Sciprios Africanus, or Amerigo Vespucci. I'm Antiochian, like for Antioch, the city of Antioch. Who do you think that was named after?
Right.
They were Antiochians, I'll continue real quick. It says, which when the king had granted, and he had gotten into his hand the rule, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion. In the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolemus, who went ambassador to Rome for amity and aid, he took away, and putting down the governments which were according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men, like Daniel, he was one of the chief young men, and brought the chief young men under his subjection and made them wear a hat.
Mm.
So going into the hat, you know, that was like more so like your badge in the sense of you being down with the Greekish fashion.
Right.
Yep.
That also covers your crown. You know what I'm saying? It covers. I would say they cover. I would say they pretty much blocking the spirit from dealing with you with that hat. You know.
Yep.
That goddamn hat.
The hat. God damn it. First Maccabees 1:16. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion over 2 realms.
Okay.
Now,
Go ahead. No, you got it.
No, I was just gonna say, now this whole portion, like this one chapter right here, or this one verse, goes into a span of years, years of wars between the Ptolemaic Empire and the Seleucid Empire.
That's
The
it.
Syrian Wars. You know, because it just didn't begin with Antiochus IV. It began with the Seleucids and the Ptolemies. Because at this time, in verse 16, this is like the 6th Syrian War. So we're already at the time where it's almost the end of them.
That's it. Yep.
So this is hundreds of years of Jake in the middle, because you had Egypt and Seleucid, the Ptolemaic Empire and the Seleucid Empire. And what was Israel was like a buffer state in the middle between both. So they fighting, trying to see who's going to get control over this land. And Jake was in the middle of it for hundreds of years. So you got to think they was learning. They was up in Egypt, you know what I'm saying, learning those customs. Seleucid, the Greek, and they both were Greeks, you know. So hundreds of years of Hellinization was going on, and Jake was in the middle of it. Wars. They was learning them customs and them ways for hundreds of years until Yahweh came on the scene.
It's the same thing today. It's the same thing today. You have a divided Edomite house with Jake in the middle.
There you go.
They fighting over. I would say they fighting over who gonna run this thing moving forward, and Jake is in the middle. And hundreds of years have gone by to where we don't know who we are based on the curses and all those things that were prophesied to happen. But they fail to realize that those dry bones were gonna wake up eventually. And now that they seeing that these dry bones are awake, it's making them all fidgety and uncomfortable. You see? It was always going to be it was a remnant during the time of the Maccabees that was saying no matter what. So the spirit of the Maccabees is here again today. You got it.
Yep. Verse 16. Now when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion over 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants and horsemen and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. So Esau against Esau, and this Ptolemy is Ptolemy the 6th. Philometer, if I'm saying his last name correctly.
That's it.
And the Ptolemies, when you go into a lot of Greek, when you go into some Egyptian history, you see those white pharaohs. The Ptolemies were over there, pretty much sitting on thrones as pharaohs, man. Esau. All right. And like we told you, after Alexander died, it was Lysimaeus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucid. So you're seeing a war between the Seleucid and the Ptolemy play out right here, which, as the priest said, it goes into hundreds of years of history. And what do you think Jake was happening to Jake at this time? Jake was falling away into that uncircumcised state. All right. But then again, you had those who stuck to the traditions. So this is a very important chapter to understand as an Israelite.
Yep. Verse 18, it says, but Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. And that's, a whole issue, like when you go into the history, you had Ptolemy the 5th. He was married to Cleopatra the 1st. They had children. Ptolemy the 6th came on the scene. Cleopatra the 2nd. They were brother and sister. They got married. You know what I'm saying? And all kinds of just told me the eighth was on the scene. You know what I'm saying? And he was trying to usurp the throne, making, you know, Antiochus the third, making deals. You know what I'm saying? With his daughter, Marion told me it was all kinds of bullshit going on at this time. You know, and you can read that in Daniel the 11th chapter. Daniel seen it. You know, it says, "Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt and took the spoils thereof." Verse 20. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and you can read about that in Second Maccabees, the 5th chapter, because First Maccabees doesn't tell you about the second campaign that Antiochus went into Egypt. It only tells you about the first one. Second Maccabees goes into both campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go, for the sake of time, when you go into the history, Jason in Second Maccabees, he pretty much, when Antiochus went to Egypt, he stored up a whole sedition against G, was killing Jake. So Antiochus was like, "Oh shit, there's civil unrest going on in Jerusalem," and he was pissed. He was furious. So he went to Jerusalem and started just killing people. And it was a Jake that stirred it up, a wicked ass nigga that did that.
That's right.
Right. And after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude.
Which goes into that history that you read in Daniel too, that he would, he would go towards the pleasant land.
Yep.
This is a fulfillment of that,
Yep. Daniel the 11th chapter, like 21 to 30 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It says, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof. He went to the temple and just ramshacked it.
Man, just walked in the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Just walked into the temple while the high priest, the priest was doing a thing, and just started knocking shit over, taking shit for himself. Could you imagine that?
Killing the priest. Man. Because he had to pay. He had to pay his soldiers. When it was over in the campaign, and because in the temple you had when you had the fatherless and you had the widows, there was a collection in the temple for those particular families that were fatherless and widows. They would get the money. They went in there and just took it. The temple was like a bank.
Yeah, that was the bank. That was our everything.
Yeah. It says in the table of shewbread, verse 22, in the table of shewbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil. So he went to the holies of holies. Wow. And
he went in the Holy of Holies, man. Which the high priest would go in the Holy of Holies once a year. Here it is. This nigga just walks in. Edomited up. Proud. Pulling stuff off.
Rips the veil down. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's what he's trying to do today. He's trying to get rid of everything. He's trying to get everything and corrupt the Lord's bride, man. I mean, I'm talking about hella going off. And the pride in which he came into the temple and the force in which he Hellenized the Jews. You see that today. Now I would say that whole Kyrie and Kanye thing, that's child's play. They haven't even got to us yet. You see, it's only through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai that we even know they coming. Look at the rest of our people. They done.
It's by prophecy we know they coming too. By the time they get to us, it's going to be so much propaganda and lies and false camps doing wicked things and like to where it's going to be like, wow, we're going to need the Lord. Because what he wants to do is come after that spiritual temple. You got to understand, this is the Greeks, Esau, defiling, the temple that Solomon built. And then eventually, as when the Romans were in power, they got rid of that temple. Now the Lord is building a spiritual temple. So his task this time is to pollute that one and destroy it. Because the temple represents for the Israelites our connection with our power. The temple was the centerpiece. All right. It all goes back to when Moses built the tabernacle. All right. In the wilderness, that was our how the Lord communed and dealt with us as we went through the wilderness and were exodus out of Egypt and all of that. It was through that tabernacle. Solomon, using that same blueprint given unto him by David, the same blueprint Moses used to build that tabernacle. All right, David gave that to Solomon, and a temple was built. So this temple represented where the heavens met the earth for the chosen people, and where we had a connection with our power. It was our everything. It was likened unto a bank, because all of the goods went to the high priest, and they took in, they gave out loans, all of that. So this was a very important physical representation of our connection with our power. So they had to do what? Pollute it, to cut off our connection with our power. Okay, which, as the elder Yatazak is going into, they're doing all of this now. You see, but how are they going to attack the spiritual temple? You can't do it. Go ahead.
Can't do it.
Go ahead.
Right. Verse 23, it says, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also, he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. And you can read this whole account of 2 Maccabees 5. It goes into a little more detail. You know, how he was killing infants and, slaying our women, and he was going in. Like, he was going absolutely in. Hanging him by the neck. Bro, god damn. A whole infant, and you over here lynching an infant.
Right.
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, he's definitely gonna pay, man. Don't be surprised if Antiochus was Haman. It'd be very possible, man. Hanging him.
Hatred was heavy.
Therefore, there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, and the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed.
The beauty of women was changed.
Yeah.
That point specifically. That prissy, because the Israelite women are beautiful, and when they was in their element, we was chilling, Jake got comfortable. Hey, but the Lord brought a great wrath against our people, man. So the beauty of women was changed. They was walking around frowned up, head wrap, leaning to the side. They probably couldn't even wear their head wraps.
Right.
Looking scared, worried, eyes wide open, and not blinking for hours.
Yeah, man. Big ass eyes.
Looking around. Oh man. And that's coming again.
Isaiah 4. Yeah. Isaiah 3, excuse me. Yep. Verse 27. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
Now, why do you sit in the marriage chamber? Because you're getting ready to consummate a marriage that night. Yep. And that's usually a happy time. Usually you have the festive, you partying, you drinking, you present yourself to the to the community. All right, and then you consummate the marriage. That's why the women were but they were heavy. All right, because Antiochus in the gang came in doing wickedness, man. And this is what we trying to tell you, Israelites. This is coming again.
I got a precept for you. Joel chapter 2, verse 15 and 16. Blow the trumpet in Zion. Sanctify a fast. Call a solemn assembly. Gather the people. Sanctify the congregation. Assemble the elders. Gather the children and those that suck the breast. Let the bridegroom go forth of his chamber and the bride out of her closet. But we ain't in that time right now, man. See, the Lord getting ready to bring forth a heavy judgment. And that whole visage of prancing around, thinking that everything's a joke. You know what I'm saying? That pride, all that shit finna get shut down.
Right.
All that, like the Lord said, it's gonna be at the same time as the day of Noah, when there was marrying and giving into marriage, and then the flood came.
All that pride, you Israelite women talking shit to the men of the Lord. We see you.
Yep.
Don't come running in that day. Deal with it. Have Antiochus as your guest.
Right.
You got it, bro.
Gone.
And let me know if you need
Verse.
me to read too. If you get,
Oh, I'm good. I'm straight.
okay.
Verse 27. It says, "Every bridegroom took up a lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion."
That's happening today.
Yep.
Look at the way the people respond to what they're told to respond to. Look how the people respond to the prophets. Right? I mean, they all jacked up, especially with this new wave of information. You see, within the past 2 or 3 months, with this whole anti-Sim thing, look at the confusion that it's bringing.
Jake just talking.
I'm talking about you can literally see that the Lord set it up for everybody to be able to voice their opinion, whether it be out loud or typed in all caps, for judgment to ensue. You got it.
Yep. It says, "The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion." And that's where you get the confusion of face. Being pretty much being in shame in a sense. Not knowing your next move. Not knowing what the hell is going on, right? And after 2 years, so 2 years, this 2 years happened, and then this next spot happened. So it ain't just a snapshot. Excuse me. It ain't just no 2 days later this happened. No, this is years. It's happening here, right? And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute into the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. And this is Apollonius when you read in 2 Maccabees, the 5th chapter. This is him. "It spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit."
Spake peaceable words unto them, but it was all deceit. Joe Biden, all of the presidents do it.
Goodness.
They put you in a jacked up situation, ruin your neighborhoods, all right, do all of this evil. Then they send a representative, all right, for you to so say, come with peaceable words so you can vote for them. But again, it was all deceit.
Man,
Go ahead.
It's that Psalm 55. It says 51. It says 55, excuse me. It says, "And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel."
As soon as they trusted him.
Yep. So I say peace. When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes.
Destruction come upon them. Yep. Wow. "And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle."
What do you think they did with the women and children? This is the Edomite now, and he has a history of doing this. He did it to the Native Americans too. Did that to us. The women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle.
Yep. And according to our law, we could do that. Whenever we went to a city or a land, we would kill the men and we would take the women.
It's an ancient custom.
Yep. It says, "Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them." Wow.
Man.
The city of David, the house of David.
They went into the city of David and built a strong wall to bind,
Wow.
They bound the strong man, basically.
And you remember when King David set up garrisons when he took them down.
Oh yeah, Esau just basically. It's always been a constant back and forth of power struggle. Why do you think Haman was so mad? Because he knew the history of Agag and Saul and Samuel. David. He constantly was back and forth with the Edomites. Well, this ultimately, what we're reading is the beginning of their blessing. of having the fatness of the earth. It started with the Greeks, then the Romans, then Rome fell, and then what? Eventually, the Renaissance period brought back that Greco-Roman way of life, and we're living in the last leg of it here in Babylon the Great.
That's right.
See, if you follow the book of Daniel, the 7th chapter, these empires are all listed. Okay, and the Greeks were the leopard. Okay, but the little horn that came out of the 4th brings back pretty much that Greco-Roman philosophy mindset, which we're living in. We're living. That's why you see Asclepius, which is that snake on the pole for their whole medical field. That goes back to the Greco. If you could, Baba Kasha, type in Asclepius. Asclepius, Greek guy. Yeah, there you go. Boom. See if you can get a picture of it.
All right.
You just go to images. The Greco-Roman god of healing. There you go. Boom. Yep. Does that look familiar to you all who are listening?
Right. You know what I'm saying? The medical field. Yep.
Yep. You see, all of these gods are what rule the world we live in today. And it all goes back to the Greco-Roman Empire.
Yep.
Okay. So when they're telling you juice up, to take this, do that, it's all attributed to another god. It's not some little small situation. So that's why guys like ISUPK got a lot of blood on their hands. All right. But I just wanted to go into that, you know.
Oh, beautiful. That's right on the money. It says, verse 33, they then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. In the city of David.
In the city of David.
Sound very similar right now, right?
Yeah, because they're over in the Holy Land
right now.
Which where they are ain't a fulfillment of the land that was given to Abraham. We know that, but they're in that region, basically boasting themselves that they're the chosen people.
Right.
And what do you have over there? All manner of idol worship, weirdo. They're over there humping walls. Like, what are you doing? You're a grown man with curls hanging down from your hat, humping a wall, bro. Just walking back and forth, tripping.
Smoking kosher cigarettes on the Passover, tripping.
Well, we
kosher cigarettes, kosher pig. Yep. Come on now.
We can tie everything that we're reading to now on some level. And that's what you got to do with these scriptures. You got to read them and put yourself in the story. You know?
That's right. Well, so y'all the ones to do it, the cherry picking. No, I said we were commanded to eat the whole roll. You see? Everybody else, I would say everybody else is doing the cherry picking. And then what you cherry picking, you don't understand that. So basically, you can keep on going into the New Testament thinking you got the story, but you're really condemning yourself. So it's all happening the way the Lord said it was gonna happen. You got it.
Mm-hmm. Shrimp in your back teeth, lying, talking all kind of shit with no idea what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. They call it Hebrew hopscotch. We call it. How about that one?
The Christian shuffle.
You try to use, the Christian shuffle. Yeah, shuffling all over the damn place. It says they stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary. Wow! So they literally just built pretty much a stronghold close to the temple, so anytime they can go into the temple, they just could and just get it. Right? For it was a place to lie and wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Diaspora. Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. See that? That's you see the same thing going on right now. Like when you read in Isaiah the first chapter, it says, "Strangers inhabit your land, and your land is desolate."
Mm.
Why? Because we ain't there. And this is the beginning of the diaspora, man. We this is the beginning where we begin to be dispersed into other areas, man. You
That's what I'm
know,
saying. Hundreds of years of persecution will make you sell out, man, if the Lord ain't with you, man.
That's right.
And that's what happened, man. It's just the truth of what happened. You see? That literally happened to us. And then you got Jakes that's like, no, it didn't. No, no, I love this white man. And you gonna love him too, or else I'm gonna mess your life up. Yeah, we gotta do something about these Israelites. We gotta get these niggas. Yeah, that's where they are. They messing it up for everybody.
That's really what's getting ready to blame us.
the blame game.
Yep.
The blame game.
Man.
Yep. Let's see where we're at here.
39,
Yep.
I believe.
39. It says, her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor into contempt. So the city, the temple was just left bare. It was left just unoccupied. Just imagine big ass weeds, bushes just growing inside the temple, rats running in there, just dirty. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
They turned it into a cave.
Yep.
Temple harlots.
Yep. All manner of evil.
Oh man, bro.
Everything that we say don't do, they did it in the temple. They went in there and did it.
Man, I want to. Can I get a quick one for y'all real fast?
Yep.
Second Maccabees 5. I'll read verse 24 and 26. He sent also He sent also that detestable ringleader Apollonius with an army of 22,000, commanding him to slay all those that were in their best age, and to sell the women in their younger sort, who coming to Jerusalem and pretending peace, did forbear to the holy day of the Sabbath.
Anytime this dude promises peace, look out. The words of his mouth are softer than oil, smoother than butter. You see? That's how he operates. It's always let's make a deal. Shake your hand. No matter who he deals with. That's why the nations are mad. Everybody he strikes a deal with, he double crosses. He can't help himself. Go ahead.
Verse 25, who coming to Jerusalem and pretending peace, did forbear to the holy day of the Sabbath. So he waited to the Sabbath specifically to do this. When taking the Jews keeping holy day, he commanded his men to arm themselves. And so he slew all them that were gone to celebrating of the Sabbath, and running through the city with weapons slew great multitudes. See? So he waited specifically to the Sabbath to do that, because he knows on the Sabbath it's a rest day, it's a holy day. This is the best time to get him. All right. Verse 40, as had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws.
That's what's happening today. That's what's happening today. Look, the Bible is through. The Lord ain't coming back. We can make our own water. Look, we can promise you eternal life. We got that on lock. All you got to do is this, and this. You see? All that keeping of the Sabbath, all that facing the east. Look, all that's about to be done. We ain't going to need none of that no more. We got y'all.
Yep.
And if you don't, and if you're not down, we got y'all.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
The globalist agenda. All right. You see that today. They're trying to bring about a one world order. All right. And they're using peace at the forefront of it, but it's really a mass enslavement. And the Heavenly Father is not with all nations being one. Right. He never wanted that. That's why he broke up the Tower of Babel. And ultimately, the Greeks were trying to do the same thing, try to make a one world order. I mean, when you read verse 41, it literally says He wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Again, these are the
Yep.
very times we're living in, and that everyone should leave his laws. And so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Now, when he put that charagma out there, and even before that, when he put that jab out there, that's telling people, leave what you believe in and come under what I believe in.
Follow me. Yep.
And if you get when we go always go into Revelation the 13th chapter, it talks about the image of the beast. All right, he made you to bow to the image of the beast. Well, this is that what we're reading is a form of that. You're bound to his image. You're going to take on his healing practices. You're going to do what he does. You're going to live like him. Hellinization. That's what's happening right now in a digital sense. All right. It's
Man,
Hellinization all over again. What we're reading about now, okay, is we're witnessing it happen right now. Go ahead.
yep. This is like what John said. He said, and all they that weren't written in the book of the life wondered after the image of the beast.
They wondered
They're
after.
wondering after. They're like, oh man, they like, oh my God. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Because if you don't have the proper leadership, you're bound to just whatever they say. You just like you're gonna do it, not knowing that you rebel in high level against your power, and that charagma is gonna seal the deal.
That's right.
And people think it's a joke. Captain Tazariak still coming with that old rusty, all right, the played
That
out
G-Unit
2002 breakdown.
That's what I'm saying. You ask him next week, it's gonna be something else.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, they all over the place.
That G-Unit breakdown, man.
That ain't even. It's worse than G-Unit.
Man, I said that breakdown got herpes.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Man.
Go ahead. It took the juice and everything. Like, you tripping.
Man.
That's a nigga. Like Tazariak, ISUPK, they told you to take the juice, man. That's what these niggas, what we're reading about. These are the type of leaders Esau is going to be putting in your face and saying, this is the guy.
Yep.
Because here it is. They never condemn the charagma, the microchip. So guess what?
Oh,
when it comes, these are going to be the men saying, God don't care if you take that.
Right. Yeah.
See?
Building the place of exercise in Jerusalem.
Right. Go ahead and do that. These niggas told you to do that. I can't believe that it ain't really a bigger deal in Israel, but that's all right. The Lord sees all, you know. Go, you got it.
God, verse 42, it says, and everyone shall leave everyone shall leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
Yea,
sacrifice.
Many also of the Israelites consented to his religion. That's how they became uncircumcised. I'm going to read 43 real quick. It says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrifice unto idols. That's why when you read in the New Testament, okay, the Gentiles are associated with what? Bowing to idols. Remember, ye were Gentiles carried away unto these dumb idols. You have to understand, these Israelites that we're reading about that consented to his religion, they had children and they had children. Okay, to where you get to the time of Yahushai. Okay, you get to the time of Paul. These Israelites are seeing the churches of Yahushai being raised up, but they were raised as Greco-Romans, but they're Israelites. So many of the Israelites consented to his religion because it wasn't just the Israelites or the Jews that were Hellenized. You had the other heathen that were round about Hellenized. But the Bible is letting you know, as it's following the chosen seed the whole time, that many of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. So ultimately they were cut off. Okay, because when you do these things in the law, you're no longer an Israelite. Pretty much when you go into that first covenant, if you profane the Sabbath, you were cut off from being a people, or you were even put to death. When you bow to idols, you were a no people. So this should help you to understand as you get into the New Testament, the mindset of the circumcision, those who fought and stuck to the traditions, looking at these people These Israelites who had just went completely left, walking around with tattoos all over their body, the markings and hats, tripping.
Yep.
Nikes, the Nikes of that day. They ain't have actual Nike, but Nike is what? A Greek god of victory.
Yep.
So
Man.
Jake got into all of that back then. But it was all centered around them consenting to his religion. This is how they became uncircumcised. This is how they became heathen. Okay?
Man,
These are the people who Paul eventually was given an order to go preach to, as wherever they were scattered. Some of them woke up at the time of Paul and left off from the religion of the Greco-Romans and came into the understanding. You got it.
And that word religion, that word religion goes into servitude. Who do you serve? They gave up serving Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai to serve Antiochus.
Yep.
Antiochus.
Yep. And when you bow to that juice, that's what you're doing. You're consenting to his religion. It's more than just a juice. It's more than a Capri Sun, nigga. This is like literal high level idol worship. And don't come with that. Well, if you take Tylenol, nah, nigga.
Yeah,
this
you
is
drink
different
bottled
here.
water.
Yeah, you eat meat. You don't know where that meat came from. Well, the prophecy said we would eat our defiled food. But if you're teaching our people to bow to what this agenda they're coming with, you ain't a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, when you was young, you had that Nike switch cut in your head. This is the original Nike switch in your haircut.
Yep, this is the original. It's Nikes.
Man.
And big ass white Nike Cortez you got ain't got nothing on what was happening back when we were right now.
Yeah, but we ever used the young Jake had that swishy on that Nike switch in your hair, man.
Tripping.
Oh man, tripping. That was the haircut you wanted, man. Yeah,
right.
Man, goodness, bro, that's heavy, bro.
Yeah, the number 30 on the little barbershop picture. Give me the number 30. You got all kind of poses. Yeah.
And it was only Jake's. It was only Jake's that had that haircut.
Yep.
Only Jake's.
That's it.
Wow, that's heavy, bro.
Yep.
It says for the verse 44, for the king has sent letters by messengers into Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Strange laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple.
Right. Now, real quick, Yatazak, could you just look up Nike Greek gods so the people who may not know why we said that, just look up Nike and Greek gods so people, the brothers and sisters who may not. There's a lot of new listeners.
This is Greek shoes. Wow.
Yeah, Nike is a Greek god that goes back to the god of victory. See that?
Look at that story. The story of Nike, the Greek goddess.
The Greek god. Oh yeah. Oh, my bad. Touche.
Man,
it was a breezy.
It's a broad. Yeah. Oh man, I did not know that until right now. I knew it was a Greek god, like you said, but that's a whole hoe, man.
It looked androgynous too.
Probably so.
Just that one statue above. There was when you was typing in Greek god, there was one that said Greek shoes. Like delete the word God there for a second and type in shoes right there.
Yeah, I see it. Nike Greek shoes.
Oh well, there it is. No. It's just giving you Nikes, but it's just going you where it comes from.
Them hoes ugly.
They are. But Nike means victory. Even when you read in the scriptures when it talks about they that have the victory, when you get that word in the Greek, it's Nike. Yeah. So shit, the Nike Cortez, the Nike symbol in your head, the haircut, all that man shit. Jake was in that shit back then.
That's what I'm saying. So basically Nike and Just Do It, a woman telling you what to do. And that's got you going off. That's wild, bro.
Just do it. Just eat it. Just eat the philosophy. Just do it.
Just do it.
Wow. Impulsiveness.
Goodness gracious.
Rabbit hole goes deep. So these were the real Jordans.
Yeah, the real Jordans.
Because that's like a real culture for Jake, Nikes and shit. Like,
yeah,
it's not just the regular, which brothers are in the shoes and stuff like that. Ain't nothing. I mean, we hear, But there's the mindset behind Nikes with Jake is just like, God, that's where they make most of their money from is Jake.
Exactly.
Yep. Continuing on, verse 46. I'm sorry, verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
That's happening today. You got Jake to talk about you can do all types of things on the Sabbath. You see?
Man.
Why? Because they conform to the religion of their daddy, the devil, man.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yep.
Everything is about confusion with all these other groups, man. Why? Because they comfortable in Babylon. Go ahead.
Yep.
These festival days, sex on the Sabbath, then the festival days, the holidays of this world, Christmas, Easter, all of these things go back to the Greco-Roman Empire, which they got those guys from Sumeria.
And over the past few years, all those so-called holidays, those so-called holy days, they be falling on the Sabbaths.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Jake. I would say you got 2/3 of Jake that celebrate Christmas on the Sabbath, Thanksgiving, all these other festivals and all these holidays that the Lord don't have nothing to do with. They celebrate them on the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
so they're like tripling down on the wickedness.
And then those who keep the Passover to the best of their ability, those who, celebrate Hanukkah, they laugh at them. Jake be like, "Yo, what the fuck? What?" Vocab. They make mockery of us doing that. But Christmas and Easter is cool. You got it, bro.
Yep. We in the Sabbath right now doing this lesson, and it was talking about how they profaned, how they came against us on the Sabbath. It's the spirit. It says, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols. And I seen Elder Manata Zakba post a comment in there in Jeremiah 11 and 13. For according to the number of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah.
Could we put it on the screen? Could we click on it? Oh.
Yeah, you probably gotta do it from after.
Well, no, I think you can do it from the chat, but that's all right. Yeah. Okay. Somebody, whoever's the moderator, you had to click on it, but that's all right.
Oh yeah, it's not let me do it.
Okay,
I got it. There it is. There it is, right there. Yep. Yahweh called thy name. There was one in verse 13. It's up a little higher.
Oh, okay.
Just a little bit, not too much.
Okay, there we go.
Yep. It says, yep. For according to this is Elder Manat Zakba, GMS, South Carolina, 08, Shalom. For according to the number of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah, and according to the number of the streets of Jerusalem have ye set up altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense to Baal. Therefore pray not for this people, neither lift up a cry or prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry unto me for their trouble. What hath my beloved to do in mine house, seeing she hath wrought lewdness with many?
Tripping.
And man, and the holy flesh is passed from thee. When thou doest evil, then thou rejoicest. Wow, that's going on. Our people are wise to do wickedness, man. Yahweh called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. And that goes, and the branches being broken is thus being taken away. Like when you read in Revelation, or excuse me, Romans the 11th chapter, being broken apart from that tree. It says, for Yahweh of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah. Yeah. Which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger and offering incense unto Baal.
Tripping. Baal
Jesus Christ. Yeah, man. Oh boy. Goodness gracious.
Baal is king.
Man, you got Jake buying that, Balenciaga this, Balenciaga that, all this madness, man. Verse 46, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars, groves, and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beast.
I'm talking about just putting anything on the altar, man. You see?
Goodness gracious.
I mean, oh boy. Yeah.
And Esau's big on that swine. Yeah, when you look at Esau's rulership, swine is the number one meat. Everywhere you look, he just got swine everywhere, and Jake is always in the midst. The first McRib commercial was a nigga biting the McRib and eyes all open. He was he put up the 6. He was like, what are you doing? But it was Jake that they used.
Right.
To be it was swine is everywhere, and they put it even in lawful things now because they know that they can accuse you. If you that's why when they got us on those slave ships, the first thing they changed was our diets. Okay, because that's one of the main ways to get a nation disconnected from their power is diet, food. Because once you get all of that garbage up in you, you get parasites in you, which parasites, there's an infestation of demons. It changes the way you think. You see this nigga right here? The first McRib commercial. Click on it. Let's look at this nigga.
It's going to be commercial.
What'd you say this was again? McDonald's calls it the McRib sandwich. It's a new kind of cute. McRib? I don't see any bones. Hey, who wants bones in a sandwich? McRib is all meat, lean pork that's grilled and simmered in a hickory smoke flavored barbecue sauce, and put on a home style roll with pickles and onions. Well, how about it? The McRib sandwich, a new kind of cute.
Oh boy!
Wow.
Yeah, it was the
Hellenized. That's a Hellenized Jew.
Right. And they got the women too.
Right.
They got the women too.
That's
know what
the
I'm saying?
number one meat of the Edomite is that swine.
That's it. Baconators.
Yeah, everywhere you look is just swine. Like, and he presents the same sandwich, the same pizza, the same taco every year, and it's just make billions of dollars.
Yep.
It's the same McRib today, and he'll bring it out. This coming out like he bring them out like Jordans now. The McRib is coming. It'll be out
a limited
about
time.
3 weeks. Limited time McRib.
Limited time.
Yeah, hurry up and get you the McRib before we stop selling them.
Yeah, seriously, Esau loves swine. That is like he makes sure that Jake is infested with swine. Go ahead.
Wow. It says, verse 48, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
Mm-hmm.
And profane means to be outside the temple.
And that's what I'm saying. So all these different things took place, yet the descendants hundreds of years later, when Yahushua came on the scene, they were coming out of all these customs, eating swine's flesh and worshiping these idols. And like we were talking about, the way they was uncircumcised and all these different things that they did to just stay alive at one point became their natural custom. They became as the heathen.
Right.
And now when Yahushua comes on the scene and he's like, look, okay, my job is to bring y'all back to the Heavenly Father. And then when it came to the disciples and their ministry, they had to do the same thing. Look, the Lord said that he's dealing with these people. If they repent, they've repented. They understand.
Right.
You got it.
In verse 48, that they should leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanliness and profanation. You can liken that into the rap music, into the education that is fed to our children to train up the youth so that they can forget the law.
Right.
Forget the law. Basically, they feed us a culture of anti-Messiah behavior, lies, wickedness, and evil. So it becomes a custom. It becomes what you literally do. It becomes your religion, because your religion is basically what you do. What do niggas do? Eat bad food, kill each other, all right, shit and fart all over the planet Earth, stick their rods in one another, just doing all manner of evil. That's the culture. Profanation, uncleanliness, and it has nothing to do with the law, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Father. That's what they did back then. It was a system set up to literally lead you into idol worship and cut you off from doing what the Heavenly Father set you up to do.
Hey, can we get that? Where is that precept where it's where the heathen was talking about when they power not dealing with them? We got it.
It's in the book of
Judas, the fifth chapter.
Can we get that real quick, Baba Kashaw?
Yeah, I'll get it real quick.
Yep.
This is Judas chapter 5, verse like 20 something. Here it is. Yep, verse 20. It says, "Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin and they sin against their power, let us consider that this should be for their for their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their power be for them, and we be a reproach before all the world."
Now, when you hear that, and you know that that's what they did to ensure their own rulership, it makes sense for them to do it when you fast forward to the time of the Maccabees.
Mm-hmm.
If you can make them go off, they Lord not going to be dealing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Period. So that's why Antiochus did what he's doing.
The accuser of the brethren.
It makes sense when you run across that information.
Yep.
And this information that we're presenting right now through the Spirit, it makes sense why those Israelite foreigners became Israelite foreigners.
Yep.
And then you got these guys today that have been completely given over unto this new religion because they are of their father the devil, and the lust of their fathers they will do. You seeing that play out versus the prophets. And it's all coming to a head now.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when we keep reading the Maccabees, eventually it came time to where that remnant was going to stand up and fight.
Said, hell no.
Yep. Isaiah, the first chapter.
And this is where Hanukkah came from. So if Hanukkah came from the heathen pressing us to the point to where we finally stood up and fight, and there's nothing new under the sun, what do you think is coming now? They already said it. They told Kyrie, they said, "You a what now? You said you go back to who? Boy, you anti-Semitic."
Well, get that scripture in 2 Maccabees 4 where it said they couldn't profess themselves
to be
Jews.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you got Jake that's actually of the tribes and don't realize it, that's fighting against this thing. We got to do something about them, man. They messing it up for everybody. That's not of God.
Tripping. Nigga lying. Man. Fresh off a hot link basket.
Man. Yeah, hot links, bro.
Pork chop Alfredo.
I'm over trying to find the scripture.
Because niggas done played out Alfredo, boy. God damn, I see another bowl of Alfredo. God damn. I believe it's in 2 Maccabees 4. Just type in
2 Maccabees 6. Let me see real fast.
Oh, it's the 2 Maccabees 6. I'm wrong.
No, you good.
Profess. I mean, if Yatazak
I found
types
it. I found it. I started verse 5. 2 Maccabees 6 and 5. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
There you go. We live in those times.
Anybody else, you can identify yourself as anything you want to, but if you are Negro, Latino, or Native American so-called, and you say that you are of the Bible, that's where they got to draw the line.
Yeah, you tripping. Yeah.
You can be anything else.
Put tattoos all over your face and do crack, make it popular to pop pills, the women, you could just bounce your ass anywhere in front of children, drink blood. You can do anything you want to do, but as soon as you say you an Israelite,
you tripping.
No, you out of your mind.
This.
You don't go too far.
There's power in being an Israelite.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can go
Sons
back.
Of the power.
That's it.
Yep. Verse 50, it says, "And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die."
Damn.
Wow. It's put to death. If you didn't obey his way, you dying. Right?
Sound like Revelation 13 a little bit, man.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm. It says, "In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city." Man, that lines right up with Jeremiah 11 we was reading earlier. "That many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law and so they committed evils in the land.
So they were going door to door. Nigga, you going off? You better go off.
Right.
Your sacrifice to this idol. Do it openly. Show the children you doing it. Overseers over all the people commanding the cities, city by city of Judah, going into to all the land where the Jews were. It's like, look, you got to do a sacrifice every month. There was an order every month, as we read, that they did that they would send out these overseers, man. So imagine how it felt to be practicing keeping the laws at this time.
Man,
you wasn't walking around with fringes in that day.
Absolutely not.
Man, hell no, you wasn't.
All right, but that's where the Maccabees come in.
That remnant.
That remnant. The Maccabees represent the remnant. Now, they fought a carnal war. We're fighting a spiritual war. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
Right.
See, but the Lord did raise them up, and great things happened through them, who were the small number. All right, when you compare them to the armies of the Greeks. Okay.
Yep. And it's spiritual how they thought that Judas Maccabees was. They thought he was the savior. They thought that he was the one. You know, and they was like, oh, they you know, they was like, wow, is this the Messiah? And it's crazy how they thought that during the Greco captivity. Esau ruined.
Right.
You know, it says, now the 15th day of the month, I'm sorry, verse 53, and drove the Israelites into secret places and wheresoever they could flee for succor. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side. The abomination of desolation was put up.
That was prophesied, and the Lord mentioned it during his time.
Yep.
You see, so and you can read about this in the Apocrypha. So the Apocrypha not being canon, hey, it's for who it's for.
Yep, and then you can read about the abomination of desolation that make it desolate at this time in Daniel 11:31. All right, that's where I'll read it real quick. It says, "An arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate."
Right, and taking away the daily sacrifice takes away our connection with our power, which is imperative that we had a spiritual temple in this time, to where we are able to offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. The heathen knew, if we can get in control of this temple, if we can cut off this sacrifice and profane it, we win.
Yep.
See, and that's what they've tried to do through all of these philosophies they've pushed on you Israelites. All right, even leading up to what they're trying to do with the charagma. It's all been to pollute you, to Hellenize you, and to cut off the connection. Let us cut their cords, as it says in the book of Psalms. Everything that this system stands for disconnects you Israelites from your power. So that's why the scriptures praise the Lord for that remnant, because how will we have made it? How will we have gotten back to him? You know, through Yahweh Shai, who, you know, that bloodshed is going to restore the remnant back to the Heavenly Father, to where our sins are covered. Because Esau has an accusation against every one of us that if the covering of the Lord wasn't on us, it could stand. And we could be perpetually cut off from our power. He can point at each individual watching the video and each individual teaching, and he has an accusation that he can basically say that you're filthy. But through the blood of Yahweh Shai, we're covered. We're perfect. And none of those accusations are going to stand. That's the importance of Yahweh Shai. You know, you got it, bro.
Yep. Verse 47, it says, "And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any considered to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death." So you followed the law, you was out of there.
Basically, back then he was forcing the image of the beast, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And people were accepting the image. And later on, they would accept that mark. You know, based on that time. Fast forward to today, you know what it is as far as the MOTB going is concerned.
Right.
It's gonna come a point. It's gonna come a point to where it's gonna go from being a choice to force.
Yes.
Mandatory.
And being put to death or being killed, either being excommunicated from society, not being able to buy or sell, or actually being put to death. All of that's going to be on the table in the hour of temptation. You got it.
Man.
Yep. Verse 58, it says, "Thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month," like you were saying earlier, "to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of the Most High."
Now it's interesting. They said whoever was found with the book of the Testament, back then they had this, the scrolls. If you were found reading the Bible, like death. Okay, and when you look at what this image, the energy of the world is going, if you have a mindset that even leans toward righteousness, you're outlaw. You're wicked. You're the problem. Everything that they're doing is even with Kanye talking about Hitler. Look, Kanye works for the other team, man. That's going to be used to say it's going too far. Elon Musk is being used with Twitter for people to say, why are these particular talking points allowed to be on the internet? We have to do something about this. We got to do something about this. That's what everything that's happening right now is leading to, them being able to outlaw the Bible, which is to what? Take away this testimony. Because they know they lose if this testimony forwards itself, man.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 60, "At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks, and rifled the houses, and slew them that had circumcised them." Man. "Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing." That remnant. You had a remnant that was still like, nah, hell no. Nah.
I'm not eating that shit. They were like, I'm not eating that. And then those were probably those same Hebrew women that were in Egypt, those Israelite women that were in Egypt that didn't cut off the male children, as it was an order to every Israelite male child that was born to be put to death. You had particular Israelite women like, nah. So you had particular those women back in their lots, circumcising their children, but they died for that.
Right.
You see?
Yep.
Wow. And now we're not eating that. It's transformed into we're not taking that. You got it.
Verse 63, wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant, so then they died. That was a big thing, bro. Like you got Jake telling you, "Oh, you trying to tell me you willing to die because you ain't gonna eat no pork?" Bro, this is our forefathers and our foremothers, man, letting us, like, showing us, like, look, it was that serious.
And having that understanding of what happened when you die. You see, I would say it's better. I would say it's better to die with a good report amongst the Lord. You know what I'm saying? The Lord will deliver. I would say the Lord delivers us for our obedience and our sacrifice in these things. So they understood. They understood. Just like when you read the second Maccabees, the story of or whether it be Eleazar or the woman and her 7 sons. Look, death ain't all that it's cracked up to be, according to what y'all saying. You see, so I would rather die than to disobey the Heavenly Father.
Yep.
And then you got Jake that would rather die than to disobey this damn white man.
Right, because if you know and understand the truth, you understand death. Okay?
That's right.
So,
and in verse 64, it says, "And there was very great wrath upon Israel." So at that point, Israel's catching hell.
That was the hour of temptation back then. Matter of fact, can you get Revelation 3 and 10 real quick?
Yep.
I can get it.
All right, God.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 3. In 10, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth.
That's what I'm saying. So knowing that this is what's coming for us, we have all these examples, we have all these accounts of our people standing stiffly and having that faith in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai at the end of the day over anything else. And the Lord will reward you for that. He said, I will keep you in that day. You see? So that's what our faith is based upon, man. The Lord telling us the truth time and time again, letting us know that all we got to do is call on his name in sincerity and truth, and we'll be okay, no matter what the fuck is happening around us. And that's not no light thing. That's not no easy thing to do. But that's what I'm saying. That's why we fast, we pray, and we do what we do. So when that time comes, we'll be covered, man.
That's right.
Y'all got anything else?
Mm-mm.
Hey,
The next chapter leads into that remnant, the Maccabees, their father Mattathias, giving a speech, and the thing you'll see as we go through these chapters is that those who stuck to these people right here who you're reading about, who chose not to be defiled with the meats, they had a heavy indignation towards those who did.
Mm-hmm.
It was they were like, y'all niggas y'all ain't Israelites, y'all wicked. So that will help you to understand as you come into the New Testament and read about, Paul and, why the circumcision were like, hell nah, they got to keep the laws. They can't come back. You'll understand that more. So get into your history.
that's right.
Don't this is it may be tedious and maybe classroom setting and not as exciting as you, but to us it's exciting. If you really in this thing, this is exciting. But get into your history. Don't just be a nigga walking around with your mouth open. Okay, with that 1,000-yard stare. Them type of Israelites, the Lord ain't dealing with them. You got to know what's going on. You got to be in the spirit, man. So.
Right. Your history is your present and your future. If you in the spirit, man. Right. It all ties together. So, man, look, I'm anxious to continue this series, man, because it's so relevant for today, to where you literally seeing past, present, and future in real time.
Yep.
And we know the outcome. We just got to live it out. You can go ahead and close us out if you want to, Taz.
All right, so with that, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. We want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. We want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth. And as always, much peace, love, and salutations to the elect of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.